Hi, this is Jana London, founder of the Natural Women's Council. In this 15-minute video, I'm going to share with you some child safeguarding concerns that I have as a mother and that the Natural Women's Council have. These came from a in-service that was delivered on a DCU course to SPHE teachers. Let's jump in and have a look at some of the information that we have a concern with, and the email correspondence, and the child school books that your child will be learning from. Class contracts. Are your children being asked to keep secrets from parents? Let's have a look. So today we're going to talk about the NCCA guidance to teachers, issues escalated to EJA and the response from EJA, who did the in-service teaching at the DCU course. And we're going to look at class contract examples from the children's SPHE books and what you can do if you have concerns. So who are the NCCA? They are the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment. So they work with teachers, parents, professionals to develop research-informed curriculum and assessment. What we have observed over the last couple of years is that the NCCA actually sideline parents. They don't involve parents or invite parents to consultations when it comes to designing the curriculum, particularly the SPHE curriculum for junior cycle, senior cycle, and primary school. It looks like, from what we have seen, is that the people selected on the committee to design the curriculum are a very careful selection of a random sample. So the NCCA, what is the guidance to teachers? This can be found on curriculumonline.ie, and this talks about myself as an SPHE teacher, what makes an inclusive SPHE classroom. The NCCA directs the teacher to agree clear ground rules, classroom contract, and establish an atmosphere that allows students to have honest discussions, be listened to respectfully, and be open to hearing opinions and experiences that might be different to their own. I don't think any one of us would disagree that it's important to have honest, respectful conversations, but it's the classroom contract that we have a concern with. One point I will make on this about being respectful to views that are different to their own. We have had parents contact us whereby their children expressed views such as there are only two sexes, or views that you can't change sex. Those views were actually not respected in the classroom. So the question I would have for the NCCA is, when it comes to respecting views, is it respecting views of critically thinking children who believe in biology, not ideology? Or is it just respecting the views that come from the NCCA and Department of Education? The NCCA also gave this guidance to teachers on what makes a safe SPHE and RSE classroom. It talks about confidentiality, and it states here that what is said in the class or group stays in the group. And this is true for the teacher too. So who are EJA? EJA is a new support service for teachers and school leaders. It's publicly funded with funds allocated from the Department of Education, and they've just been in existence since September 1st, 2023. They were formed from the integration of 4 existing support services. So how does EJA fit into the SPHE program? EJA, getting their direction from the NCCA and given the briefing and the curriculum from the NCCA, they go in to do a 2-day in-service to SPHE teachers. They recently did this 2-day in-service to teachers on an SPHE course that was a year-long course at DCU. And if you go onto the EJA website, you can learn more about who they are and what they do. And this man here is the managing director of EJA, Dr. Parig Kirk. So Dr. Kirk, we sent him an email following some concerns that were raised to us by a teacher who went through the EJA in-service. The concern is here in the red box, and it relates to class rules and a confidentiality agreement. The EJA presenter reportedly advised faculty of the importance of the teacher developing a class contract with the students to ensure that issues discussed during SPHE would remain confidential and not be discussed by the students elsewhere. So the letter that we sent to Parig Kirk at EJA stated that discouraging children from speaking to parents about matters related to sex and relationships, whether discussed in the classroom during SPHE or otherwise, has a concern in relation to these 3 points. One is it creates an ethos of secrecy, which offends all child safeguarding principles. How many of you, as parents, have asked your children to never keep a secret from you? That there are no secrets from mommy and daddy. The child should feel comfortable coming to us about any matter that they have. And B, it potentially creates a mistrust between parents and children. Think of your child, age 12, sitting in this classroom, and the person in a position of authority, their teacher, says that they aren't allowed to discuss this information elsewhere. The child may be thinking, can I not trust my parents with this information? So it does create that mistrust and puts a wedge between the parents and the children in relation to open communication and trust. Thirdly, it could ultimately make the children more vulnerable to predatory behavior due to the lack of openness with their parents. So think about this situation outside of the classroom. If a child is told to keep secrets from mommy and daddy in the classroom by a teacher in that position of authority, what happens when they're at the playground and someone who may be a predator approaches your child and says to them, "Can you keep a secret from your mommy?" That's generally one of the first questions a predator would ask your child. So it puts that child in a vulnerable position if they're learning about secrets in the classroom environment. It also offends Article 42 of the Irish Constitution, which acknowledges parents as the primary and natural, moral, intellectual, physical, and social educator of our children. So this letter went to Dr. Kirk on the 21st of February. It's important to note that the letter was much longer. These are just a few points. We also included other matters of concern, such as advising teachers to introduce themselves using pronouns. So what was the response from Dr. Kirk that came back on the 3rd of March? I won't read this verbatim, so feel free to hit pause on your screen if you wish to read all of the points. But in summary, he advised us that he was following the NCCA's document, What Makes a Safe SPHE Classroom. That is correct, and that was the document from the NCCA that I just shared with you about the class contract and the agreement. He disagreed that there was any safeguarding issue. He said that having followed all of EJ's child safeguarding procedures, I am satisfied that this matter has reached conclusion. It's all done in his eyes. He states that he will not be making a report to TUSLA because, again, there's no reasonable grounds for concern in relation to these class contracts and secrecy pacts. He states that the professional learning provided to the faculty of the school is aligned with the guidance provided by the NCCA and the Department of Education. That is correct. So he is only taking orders from the NCCA and the Department of Education, and he, using his own judgment and EJ's safeguarding procedures, does not feel there's any risk with this class contract and secrecy pact. So we weren't satisfied with his response and wrote back to him on the 12th of March, 2024. And again, we stated that the EJA presenter reportedly advised faculty of the importance of the teacher developing a class contract with the students to ensure that issues discussed during SPHE would remain confidential and not be discussed by students elsewhere. We stated that we believe class contracts, whether expressly agreed with the students or implied, are useful in maintaining levels of behavior and decorum. But the concern is when there's the condition of the class contract that what is discussed is confidential and not to be discussed elsewhere, such as at home with the parents. We also, in the letter, stated that we did not ask him to consider whether a class contract is appropriate, but whether a class contract which seeks to restrict children discussing issues in SPHE, which due to the very nature of SPHE, and from what we've seen in the school books, they are of a very sexual nature. So restricting them from discussing them with persons outside of the class, which would obviously exclude parents and guardians, was the concern. So Dr. Kirk comes back on April 2nd, and I'm going to read a few points from this, and I would like to ask you if you also agree this may be plausible deniability. So again, he states that the class contract is guidance from the NCCA under the document, What Makes a Safe SPHE Classroom. And he mentions that it's to protect, from page 3 of the NCCA document, it's to protect privacy, and students shouldn't talk specifically with names when retelling stories. That we agree with. We agree that if a child goes home and talks to their parents about something, they needn't mention the specific child that raised this. So that we do agree with. What we strongly oppose is having any secrecy pact, any class contract, which stops children from bringing that information elsewhere outside the classroom. He does state that the guidance, in his view, does not suggest a contract that would restrict students from discussing issues raised in SPHE with persons outside of the class, rather that if they are discussing it, they do it in a way that respects the privacy of their peers. He is satisfied that guidance offered by the EJA SPHE team has not suggested that students be discouraged from sharing what they're learning with parents or guardians. So this is his opinion he's writing back to us in this letter. But his opinion is different than what the NCCA guidance to teachers states and what the school books state, which I'm going to show you in a minute. So this appears to be plausible deniability by Dr. Kirk, in my opinion. Let's have a look inside your children's school books. So here it's important to look at the picture on the bottom right. It's a locker, and it's also a phone locked away. So children are being asked to sign a secrecy contract in the class, not to share information outside the class. And the Department of Education used public funds to go out and buy those books. And the books may stay in that locker locked away. The books may not make it home. And the mobile phones, of course, will be locked up as well. So there will be no way to take any photographs or recordings of what is taught to that child. So if you lock up the books and you lock up the phones and then your child can't talk to mommy or daddy about it, it really is a case of what happens in the class truly stays in the class. So the first set of books we'll look at, My Wellbeing Journey. And here we have book 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to specifically be looking at My Wellbeing Journey 1 today. You can view all of the pages from this book on www.gileducation.ie. It's over 200 pages, and they do provide the entire book online for you to flip through the pages and have a look for yourself. We also have a hard copy of this book as well, in case it is changed or taken down offline. The 3 authors of the book, it's always nice to put names and faces behind the work they produce. We have Edel O'Brien, who's a coordinator of SPHE and Wellbeing down in Castle Troy College. We have Owen Cleary, who's coordinator of SPHE and Wellbeing at a secondary school in Greystones. He's also on the board of directors in the Dublin Rape Crisis Centre. His LinkedIn profile does state that he's also an assistant principal. And if you do Google Owen Cleary, he does a lot of writing for the journal.ie. He's written quite a few articles against parents' views and dismissing our views, and that no surprise, since he's producing the books to teach our children this. And we have Pam O'Leary. She's an experienced guidance counselor and well-being teacher at, no surprise, an Educate Together school down in Cork. So in My Wellbeing Journey 1, the one with the purple cover there on the left, there's a group activity for the class to do on page 106. And in this group activity, RSE ground rules, diamond 9. So you'll see these 9 diamonds here. And if we zoom in on the yellow one here, it states clearly, what is shared in class stays in class. I don't think there's any ambiguity to that one, is there? And then you have the class activity here and the class contract on page 107 that your child will be asked to sign. It is an important thing to note that in no other subject in school is there a class secrecy contract or a confidentiality contract. They don't have it for classes like science, geography, Irish, or math. It's only in the class education discussing topics of a sexual nature. And written by the same authors here, Edel O'Brien, Owen Cleary, and Pam O'Leary, is My Wellbeing Journey 2. And this book here with the red cover is the SPHE book that had 8 pages dedicated to masturbation in lesson 17. That includes mutual masturbation. And in lesson 17, it also congratulates your child, age 12. Congratulations, you're becoming a sexual being. That's great. And inside this book, you'll see here it has on lesson 1, class contract and goal setting. And then you see the ground rules there on the top right. And then you have the teacher there pointing to some different rules that he has. And if we zoom in on one of those, it says privacy. And there we have the class contract that your child will be asked to sign. Another publisher, Edco, the education company of Ireland. You can find all of these books, ebooks, and digital resources on edcopublications.ie. And this book here, we've done a podcast last year we did in this book here, and this was revealing the genderbread person and the different terminology that your children will be asked to learn, such as transgender, non-binary, cis, and more. Some more of those makey-uppy terms, bringing a political ideology and gender politics into the classroom. So we've seen this book before. Let's have a look. And here we go. There's ground rules, our class contract, and your child here will be asked to put in their name and agree to the following rules to keep the SPHE class happy and a safe place for all. Well, what I would ask is it really a happy, safe place when children are being asked to keep secrets? I don't think that's safe. So what is our view of class contracts? A few points here. A verbal classroom agreement is acceptable, whereby children should be free to discuss all matters with their parents, but that no other child's name should be quoted. That is reasonable. We oppose any written contract to be agreed or signed by minors. Minors are children under 18. You are not an adult within the laws of Ireland until you're 18. So no child, no minor should agree or sign a contract without the explicit agreement of parents. And just a reminder that we have Article 42 of the Irish Constitution, which acknowledges parents as the primary and natural, moral, intellectual, physical, and social educator of our children. So we must, as parents, assert our rights. What can we do? First, have that open, honest relationship with your child. Talk to your child to advise them that they should never, under any circumstance, keep a secret from their parents. Tell your child to refuse to sign any class contract. Second, share this information with every parent you know. Remember the locker, that's where the books will likely stay. So most parents won't even know this is happening. So please do share it with everyone you know. And request that you see all of your children's school books. Any responsible, caring, involved parent should want to see what their child is learning so they can support them in their educational journey. So it's only reasonable that we should ask to see all of the books that our children are using in the classroom. And fourth, contact your child's school, discuss your concerns with the teacher, and follow up with a letter to the principal and the Board of Management. And you can copy your local TD, the Minister for Education, Norma Foley, and EJA, and the NCCA, who are putting out these guidelines. And you can visit the naturalwomanscouncil.ie and follow us on X and Telegram for the latest information and campaigns. So the most important thing is that you should have a relationship with your child where your child never, ever feels that it's right to keep a secret from you. Open communication is the best way to safeguard your child. I hope you found this information useful. If you please give it a like and comment your feedback on the video, that will help us stop the shadow banning and beat the algorithms as well. So more to follow on this. We're going to continue to produce the content for parents to keep you armed with knowledge to protect your child. We will make schools a place where children are educated and not indoctrinated. Thank you very much and have a great day.